Namah Shivaya. Welcome friends to this new lecture. So in this lecture, we will basically discuss surveillance systems for vaccine safety studies. So basically, ultimately in this lecture, we will be looking at some methods used in determining or studying the vaccine safety. Like if we basically create any vaccine for any particular virus, especially like this COVID-19 virus was very popular, that coronavirus, and we invented vaccines for that also. Now the question is that how to basically assess the safety of that vaccine, that okay, if we administer that vaccine, no side effect will be there. So how we will determine that? So the safety of vaccine plays a very important role, because vaccine may have side effects, and it has, like whatever vaccines we use, it is being seen that for some of the people it might show some adverse events. So we call it like adverse events following immunization, AEFI, that might be there. So it's always a good choice to first test the vaccine, then make it public so that people can administer it, they can have it with full confidence. Like there should not be any cases of AEFI, adverse events following immunization. So how we can assess that? So the study. So basically, it is a process that we will be discussing, because if I am doing the vaccine safety study, so there are different ways for that. There are different ways for that. So that is what we will be discussing in this lecture. So this lecture will be more of like a theoretical one, wherein we will be discussing this clinical procedure, like the procedure, the standard procedure followed all across the globe in the vaccine safety study. So if I have to conduct a vaccine safety study, so I can follow these procedures which I will be discussing with you. So let's get started with the class. So let's get started with this lecture. So surveillance systems in vaccine safety studies. So if I talk about vaccine safety studies, so there are different surveillance systems that we use. So the first one is the active surveillance. Then we have the passive surveillance. Then we have sentinel surveillance. And then finally we have enhanced surveillance. Now basically what exactly it means. So each of the surveillance system we will discuss in detail in this lecture, like what is meant by active surveillance, what is meant by passive surveillance, what is meant by sentinel surveillance, and what is meant by enhanced surveillance. So all these methods we will discuss one by one. So first, let's start with the active surveillance. Like what is the meaning of active surveillance? So we will look at active surveillance. So basically, first we have to understand this, that okay, when we will be doing the vaccine safety study, or we are trying to like test the safety of the vaccine, then we will be doing it in different phases. Like there will be a preclinical trial, then there will be a clinical trial, then there will be like phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical trial. And we are doing all these clinical trials to figure out or to find out adverse events following immunization. So ultimately, the main goal of the vaccine safety study is to find out adverse events following immunization, because this adverse events following immunization, it is the main culprit, or adverse events with side effects. So basically, we invented a vaccine with no side effect, then that will be like a ideal vaccine, a perfect vaccine. That is what we want. Then we can say that, oh, this vaccine is 100% safe, because this vaccine hasn't shown any adverse events following immunization. Like after that vaccine got administered, no side effect was seen, not so ever, in any part of the world. Then that will be 100% safe vaccine. But unfortunately, this doesn't happen. Every vaccine, no matter how much advanced it is, no matter it is made up of very advanced technology, it might exhibit some adverse events following immunization. And that is the concern. That is where the vaccine safety concern plays a role. Our goal is to minimize this. So whatever vaccine we have created, we test, we check whether, okay, this is the vaccine which we created. What is the report? What is the ground report? Okay, if I administer that in the people, do I get a large number of EEFI? If I am getting a very large number of EEFI, then whatever vaccine I made, that is rubbish, that is of no use, that is very bad. I have to enhance it, I have to upgrade it, because what is our goal? Our goal is to minimize EEFI. So the goal of vaccine safety study is to determine the level of EEFI, and based on that, either we can make it public, the vaccine, we can launch that vaccine, or we can put more efforts to make it more reliable, the vaccine. And all the steps which we are discussing, like the active surveillance, passive surveillance, sentinel surveillance, and enhanced surveillance, the key objective of all these methods is to determine the level of AEFI. So there are different ways to determine this AEFI, the side effects, the concentration of side effects, the level of side effects, the percentage of side effects. And in active surveillance, what we do, we try to find out this AEFI in a lab setting. So that we will discuss very soon. But first, let us have a look at the meaning of this preclinical trial, clinical trial, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. Just let's have a look at it. So preclinical trial means we are trying to test the vaccine without administering it in a human body. Now you might be laughing, you might be surprised. How is it possible? Because I invented a vaccine. Now I have to test the safety of that vaccine. So definitely, if I administer that vaccine in some human beings, in some like 100 people or 1000 people, a set of population, if I administer it and if I see, oh, no side effect it is exhibiting, oh, only 1% AEFI I found, then I say that, oh, the vaccine I made, it is so safe. I am proud of my vaccine. But here I am telling that I will be testing the safety of the vaccine without administering it into the human body. How is it possible? How is it possible? So it is possible, like in the clinic, in the preclinical trial, we administer it into any animal. Rather than going for a human body, we first administer that into any animal and check whether that vaccine is showing side effects in that animal. And there are scenarios available for that. Unfortunately, according to like whatever I have seen, I may be wrong also, but like it's always good if you can cross check. But what I feel like in for the COVID-19, the vaccines which we made, there was no scope for preclinical trial, because what I found was most of the animals, they had natural immunity for coronavirus. See, why we need vaccine? When our natural immunity fails to generate antibodies or antigen for a virus, and this vaccine will trigger our immunology, our natural immunity to generate antigens. That's why we use vaccine. And what I feel is that for animals, since they can naturally generate antibodies, so if we administer vaccine in them, nothing special we can like derive, or we can conduct a reliable study. For coronavirus, I'm telling, but definitely there are so many viruses, like HIV is also a virus. So many viruses we are having. So preclinical trial means whatever vaccine we created, first we test it in animal and we see whether it is having AEFI. If the vaccine is having lots of side effects in AEFI, it means that it is concerning. We have to relook at what we invented. We have to do the corrections, and then accordingly we have to move forward. So preclinical trial can be very helpful, as you can see, because if you made any blunder in making a vaccine, it might happen. We can save lives, because in clinical trial we do it on a set of population, and if a vaccine with some human error, it is being circulated in a small set of population in the name of clinical trial, unfortunately that person may face some very serious consequences of that, and we never want that. And hence, preclinical trial can be very magical. It can be very useful in such scenarios. So now we got an understanding of preclinical trial. Now, clinical trial, as we already mentioned, before making vaccine public, like, okay, we invented a vaccine. Now we like select some population, like some people from the population based on our needs. Like we can choose demography, we can look at their medical health records. We want people with like perfect health, or we don't want any particular disease they should have. All that we can cross check, we can screen that, and based on that, we can shortlist, we can select a set of population, and we can administer the vaccine to them. We can administer the vaccine to them. We can then later find out adverse events following immunization, AEFI. And if we found, oh, AEFI, the level of AEFI is very less, like only less than 1% of the population, the clinical trial we did, it showed some adverse event, then we are happy. We can be happy and we can move, like we can test it on a much bigger audience. But there is a drawback in the clinical trial, because the drawback is that the world in which we are living is so diverse. It is very diverse, because here we are having different sort of people with different mental health conditions. There are so many different permutation combinations are present, and unfortunately, the clinical trial, the set of population is very less, and it might be that the AEFI, which was not shown in clinical trial, it might get shown up in a big population. It happens, and hence we can't just rely on clinical trial. And hence, in the vaccine safety, we can't just rely on the clinical trial. We can't rely on a test on a very small population. So then we go for the phase 1. In the phase 1, what we do here also, like when we launch the vaccine, we don't launch it in one go on the massive audience, on a massive population. We don't launch it in the one go. We launch it phase by phase. So once the clinical trial was successful, now we will increase the test size. Initially for the clinical trial, if we, let us suppose, took 200 people, now we will be taking 1000 people, or 500 people, or 400 people. It depends on the context. So in the phase 1 trial, we will like increase the population and check for AEFI. And if our vaccine was successful in phase 1 also, it didn't exhibited concerning AEFIs. It might exhibit some AEFI that is tolerable, that we can understand. We like whatever vaccine we make, it has some side effects involved, in some very rare side effects it might show. It is okay. So if our vaccine passes the phase 1 clinical trial, then we go for the phase 2 clinical trial. Here we will increase the population size. And after phase 2 trial, if it was also successful clinical trial, then definitely we can go for a massive vaccination. And after vaccination, we do a long-term study, because it is also seen that it is so strange that once the vaccine got administered, it might show some long-term side effects. So long-term study, long-term vaccine safety study is compulsory. It is very important. And in the phase 3, we do a sort of long-term vaccine safety study, wherein once the vaccine was administered into a very large set of population, now after 1 month, after 50 days, or after 6 months, we take a population of 10,000 people or 5,000 people and check for AEFI. Like in the long term, did they exhibit any side effect? Is it so? Did they exhibit any AEFI, adverse events following immunization, in the long term, after 6 months of vaccination, after 12 months of vaccination, after 2 years of vaccination? All that kind of study we do in the phase 3 clinical trial. So this is basically the idea. So in active surveillance, we do all this thing, and the main essence of active surveillance is that we seek this AEFI under our control. Like we do the experimentation, we do the surveys, because in the long-term study, we do the survey. Okay, survey among 10,000 people. who got administered vaccines 6 months back. In the survey, we asked them questions. Oh, are you feeling okay? Did you face any rare event or some rare symptoms? Did you face all those questions will be there. Based on that, we do the study. We seek out AEFIs. So that is the active surveillance. In active surveillance, we are actively involved. Like we actively do the clinical trials, we do the surveys, we do the medical record reviews. So the core elements of this active surveillance will be clinical trials, survey, medical record review, targeted monitoring of specific population. These are like some of the very important elements of active surveillance. So in active surveillance, we conduct clinical trials. So clinical trials means all these preclinical, clinical, phase 1 clinical trial, phase 2 clinical trial, phase 3 clinical trial. There is a long-term vaccine safety study. In the active surveillance, we conduct surveys because we are actively involved in seeking out information about AEFI. We do the clinical trial for AEFIs. We do the surveys to get the AEFI. We do the medical record reviews to get the identify the AEFI. Like the people who got vaccinated, we shortlist a set of population and we do a medical test of those people, like medical conditions, and we do it, we study that, and we try to identify whether that particular person is he exhibiting any special kind of EEFI. Then targeted monitoring of specific population. So all these things we do actively. We seek out the AEFI numbers, and it's a very important activity, very important activity, active survey, and it's the like the starting step, the main, the base, the foundation. So if we are doing the vaccine safety study, the basic foundation is the active surveillance itself. And you saw so many process we follow, and still we are not convinced, because I will show you some drawbacks of active surveillance, and that is being like covered, but that is been taken care by other methods. So the idea is that an ideal safety study will contain all these methods, wherein we will start first from the active surveillance, then we will add a layer of passive surveillance, then a layer of sentinel surveillance, and a layer of enhanced surveillance. And if we do all this, then whatever study we did, we are very confident that, okay, these are the results, and accordingly, we can either go for the vaccine, or we can like revoke it back, or we can take like appropriate actions accordingly. Now, before going into the other methods, because it will be a bit of like detailed lecture, because we have to feel it, like because vaccine safety is a very important aspect, a very important concept. So now we will like discuss in very detail phase 3 clinical trial, like the long-term vaccine safety study, because long-term vaccine safety study is very important for us, because we never know, like, okay, like we got this coronavirus vaccine, or like now, like kids, they have so many vaccines like DPT and other vaccines they are having. So it is always a good exercise to study the long-term like side effects or long-term adverse events following immunization. So long-term study is very important, and we will discuss that in great detail. So let's look at it. So that this long-term study is a part of active surveillance itself. So inside this active surveillance, we will discuss this phase 3 clinical trial. So we will be discussing phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trial for studying vaccine safety. So like whatever we are discussing this long-term vaccine safety study, so it's a gold standard, because this gold standard contains some very interesting aspects like randomization. There should be a control group present. All that we will discuss in detail. It's a gold standard. So first, let us look at some key features of this study. So in the long-term safety study, that's the phase 3 clinical trial. The sample size should be large samples, because now since like millions of people, they already got the vaccine. So in order to do a proper study, we have to take a large sample size. So sample size should be large, like ranging from 1,000 to 10,000 participants. And it can be more than that. It can be lakhs of participants. That's fine, because then only we will be able to get a proper number for this AEFI. because ultimately the main goal is to identify these side effects, that is the adverse events following immunization. And if the sample size is large, the advantage which we will get is even rare AEFI we can identify. And what is this rare AEFI? There might be a person with a with any particular health condition, like with any specific health condition. He might exhibit a very rare side effect which has been not seen in millions of people. It might happen. And that is the rare adverse effect following immunization. And those rare AEFI are very important for us. And that we can get to know with this phase 3 clinical trial involving large sample size. Now, the next very important feature is the randomization. Okay, like before randomization, let us discuss one more concept, then we will discuss randomization. Otherwise, we have to repeat the same thing. So let us avoid that. So first, let us discuss control, because as you can see, phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trial. So what is the meaning of this control? So controlled means basically there is a presence of control group. So like now what it is, you will get to know that the idea is that whenever we conduct the vaccine safety study, like whenever we do any active surveillance, whenever we do any clinical trial, always there is a control group present. So there is a control group present and there is a vaccine group present. So there is a control group present and there is a vaccine group present. Now the difference is that, as the name suggests, in the vaccine group, it will be a bunch of population who got vaccinated, and control group will be a bunch of population who didn't got vaccinated. Now the idea is that so we are trying to compare the health conditions of people without vaccines and people with vaccines. And if we see that the vaccine group is exhibiting some special health conditions which is not present in control group, then very confidently we can say that it might be because of a side effect shown by the vaccine. Let us suppose we saw that vaccine group, that the people who got vaccinated, they are feeling itchy, like very frequent itching, like scratching. They want to scratch, that itching. They are feeling a lot, like they reported it. And control group, no such itching is there. And then we can very confidently say that since like majority of the population in the vaccine group, they are facing this itching can be an adverse event following immunization. So controlled group, like the vaccine safety study should be controlled. Saying means to say that it should contain a control group, because control group acts like a baseline, because we always compare. So we have to compare with people who didn't got vaccinated. Then only we will be able to assess the side effect or the adverse event following immunization. Because it might happen that if any person is exhibiting any special symptom, it might be because of his background health condition, because of his medical history. It might be that he might be a heart patient, because of which his heart problem might increase after vaccination. But vaccination might not be the reason for that. It might be because he might already be in stage 2, like heart attack. Definitely, because of some trauma or some any other event, he might have got an heart attack, and we are falsely blaming vaccine for that. So that all we can establish with the presence of this control group. So the vaccine should be controlled. The vaccine safety study, the clinical trial, it should be controlled. Now let us look at the third very important feature of this long-term vaccine safety study, and that is the randomization. Now you will very easily understand the meaning of randomization. Now we know that in a vaccine safety study, we will be having a control group and we will be having a vaccine group. In the control group, we will be having a bunch of population who didn't got vaccinated, and in the vaccine group, we will be having a bunch of population who got vaccinated. In randomization means since we are shortlisting a bunch of population, we can do it in a random manner so that there is no bias. So randomization, what it does, it eliminates the bias, and we have to eliminate the bias. Eliminates bias. There should not be any bias. Like bias can be demographic bias, like age group and all. Age group, the culture, the region, like demographic bias. This we should minimize or eliminate. So if I talk about bias, it can be demography and also medical conditions, like people exhibiting similar medical condition, if they become the part of vaccine group, then it might give us wrong interpretations. Like if in the 100% of people in the vaccine group, like in the vaccine group, if we are having 100 people who got vaccinated and their medical health condition, the background condition, the history, like in those 100 people, 80 are already having heart problem. If that is the scenario, then we can wrongly interpret that because of the AEFI of the vaccine was enhanced heart problem. Like the vaccine had a side effect on the heart issue. That will be a wrong interpretation. Because why it was wrong? Because in a population of 100 people, 80 people were already suffering this heart problem. So there was a bias. There was a bias of medical condition. And if vaccine group only consists of young people, like age group 25 to 30, no old people is involved or very less old people is involved, then whatever interpretation we will be making, that will be not up to the mark, because biasness can ruin the vaccine safety study. And this vaccine safety study is so very important. It is a matter of public health. It is like very, very important, very, very concerning, because here we are talking about life and death. Just imagine there was a severe virus attack and we invented a vaccine for that. And unfortunately, because of some human error, we did mistake in this vaccine study. What will happen? It will be a disaster, because we will give green signal to the vaccine because we did the wrong interpretation. We give the green signal. It might be that vaccine might exhibit some very serious AEFI, and we failed to identify that because of the wrong interpretations. We give the green signal, and because of that vaccine, after that vaccine, if people got lots and lots of side effects, many people lost their life, then it will be a disaster. And it can happen. And hence, vaccine safety study is very important. And there is no room for biasness. And randomization can help us in eliminating the biasness. And here, mathematics will play a role. Like the concepts of probability, statistics, they can help us in randomizing the population. Like the sample we are taking from the population, we can randomize it to a very good extent. Then we can conduct the study on that. Next very important feature of this phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trial, that is the long-term vaccine safety study. The next very important feature will be the blinding. And in blinding also, like the popular one is will be the double blind trial. Now what it means? It means basically, see, this clinical trial will be conducted by the health experts. It might be that health experts might be doing the test, or they will be personally interacting with the control group or vaccine group. So blinding means we should keep the identity hidden from like control group, vaccine group, and the health experts. Like no one should know the identity of other. Like vaccine group people shouldn't know, okay, who is the health expert or who is present in the control group. People in the control group, they shouldn't know, okay, who all are present in the vaccine group or who will be the health experts. And health experts who will be conducting this trial, they shouldn't know who, like people, the identity of the people in the vaccine group and the control group. Because if they know the identity or all that, it might affect the study. And this you can like give it a try. You can pause the video and you can think about it. You can do a research, a small research also, like how knowing the identity can ruin the vaccine safety study. And definitely it will be a very interesting analysis by you, because it's so interesting. Like if I know the identity also, if I get to know, okay, who is my health expert, it might affect the vaccine safety study. So that is why in a gold standard, if we are following the gold standard of vaccine safety study, there we are adopting the concept of blinding, especially this double blind trial, where health expert doesn't know the identity of people involved in the trial, and people involved in the trial doesn't know the identity of the health expert. Now, the next very important aspect or the key feature of this long-term vaccine safety study, it is the long-term follow-up. As the name suggests, like it is very clear to us because we are doing a long-term vaccine safety study. The follow-up should be long-term. Either it can be a 6 months, a year, 2 year, 3 year, even 6 years also. So the idea is that like after every year we do a study. Like okay, it has been 1 year since the vaccine is in market, and people who got vaccinated a year back, we will do a study on them. We will try to find AEFI. Okay, vaccine got 2 years since it got published or it got launched in the market. So after 2 years, we will conduct a study wherein we will like do a survey or a study on a group of population who got vaccinated 2 years ago. Like they have an experience of 2 years. Then we can like try to find AEFI among them. So this is the long-term follow-up. This is very clear to us that since it's a long-term vaccine safety study, this long-term follow-up should be there. But here, one more very important thing which we will achieve from this long-term follow-up is like it's very important. That is the duration of protection offered by the vaccine. Because I might like you might be aware. I assume that you might be aware of this fact that vaccine is not evergreen. Like if you took coronavirus vaccine or COVID-19 vaccine, if you took that, its effect will be for some limited time, maybe a year or 2 year or 6 months. It depends on the vaccine you took, but vaccine has a limited protection. There is a limited period of protection it can offer, and it is very important aspect. It is very important aspect because if we have to keep ourselves safe from the virus, then we have to revaccinate. We have to once again get vaccinated. It might happen. It might happen, and it happens basically because all the vaccines which we take, it has got a duration of protection. Like some vaccine, they might give us a protection for 10 years, 15 years, and some vaccine, it might give protection for like a year or 6 months, like that. So with this long-term follow-up, we can very easily assess the duration of protection offered by the vaccine because this long-term vaccine safety study, we can do that. So now we got a very good understanding about the key features of the long-term vaccine safety study. So it involves, like if I talk about long-term vaccine safety study or the phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trial for studying vaccine safety. So if I talk about the gold standards of it, it contains the gold standard according to which this study should contain large sample size so that we can identify even rare AEFI. It should be controlled. Like there should be a presence of control group, like people who haven't got vaccinated. That is the control group. And then it should be randomized. The population, the sample which we will be using for the clinical trial, that should be randomized to eliminate the bias. There should not be any demographic bias or medical history or medical conditions biasness. There shouldn't be there. So randomization is very important. Then we also saw the one of the gold standard. It is the blinding. Like it should be a double blind trial wherein health expert is completely unaware of the identity of the people involved in the clinical trial, and people involved in the clinical trial, they are unaware of the identity of the health expert. Long-term follow-up that we understand, and also importance of this long-term follow-up is that we will be able to assess the duration of protection offered by the vaccine. So now we got a way. Okay, if I have to conduct a long-term vaccine safety study, I have to follow these gold standards. Now the next very important question in front of me. Now the very important question in front of me is this. Okay, I followed all these gold standards. I followed all these 5 steps while conducting a long-term vaccine safety study. Now, how can be sure? How I can be sure that the vaccine is safe, or the AEFI which I got, or the final conclusion, final interpretation that I will be deriving, that will be up to the mark. Like how I will assess the safety. That is a very important question, and let us give a good answer for that. So now we will be basically answering this very important question, like how phase 3 clinical trials assess vaccine safety. So let us look at some points. So basically the phase 3 clinical trial, after, like, if you follow all the gold standards, we will be able to monitor adverse events. So the idea is that in the phase 3 study or the long-term vaccine safety study, whatever adverse events we get after following the gold standards, like long-term follow-up, we will be using separate control group and vaccine group, and whatever AEFI we are able to identify after that study, we will basically document that. So careful documentation we will be doing of AEFI. We will be analyzing. So there will be different hierarchy. So a team will responsible for the clinical trial. So it will document all the AEFI, and that report will be moved to the next level. And there it will be analyzed by some other bunch of experts. What they will be analyzing basically, so they will be analyzing the frequency of that event, like side effect, like the adverse event. What's the frequency of that? Like rate of occurrence. Is it occurring frequently or it is occurring very rarely? Severity. And based on that, most important analysis that we will be doing will be figuring out the potential relationship to the vaccine, potential relationship to the vaccine. Means to say that, okay, whatever adverse events we monitor, is that adverse event related to the vaccine? Is that adverse event is because of the vaccine? Is the vaccine the cause for that adverse event? And this is the most important question we will be answering after this monitoring. So now we are getting a feel that, okay, that the long-term vaccine safety study we did using the gold standard, whatever study we did, because of that, we were able to figure out the adverse events. We will document that, we will make a report, and then the next level of experts, they will do our analysis, and based on that, we will come to a conclusion whether vaccine was responsible for that adverse event, and hence we will be able to assess the vaccine safety. And also we will be comparing the rates, or we will be doing a comparison between the vaccine group and control group, because the idea is that when we will be doing that study, the gold standard, like following the gold standards, the long-term vaccine safety study, we already saw there we will be using a control group and a vaccine group. Now, whatever health conditions we are getting from the control group, we are documenting that also. And whatever health conditions we are getting from the vaccine group, we are documenting that also. And AEFI seen in control group and AEFI seen in vaccine group, all we will be documenting. And the team of experts involved in analysis, they will be comparing both the control group and the vaccine group. So they will be comparing both. And with this comparison also, like, we will be in a very good position to assess the vaccine safety, because this comparison will be playing a very important role to basically give an answer that, okay, this AEFI which we are seeing, this is because of the vaccine, or this is because of a medical history or medical health condition exhibited by the person. So all such kind of a study or interpretation we can do after this comparison. So we can determine the safety concern, potential safety concern, because if we are able to identify that, okay, this AEFI is concerning, then we can act accordingly. So potential safety concern we can identify after this. So now we got a very good understanding that, okay, this phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trial for studying vaccine safety, like for long-term vaccine safety study, which we are doing. If we are following all the gold standards, we will be doing a long-term follow-up. It is so important. Every year or every 6 months, if we are doing this study, we will be able to check whether, okay, we are on a safe zone or things are getting out of control, because we get to know that, okay, some EEFI, it is emerging, and we can act accordingly, or we can very confidently say that, or we can be assured that, oh, the things are in control. All such kind of a thing can be done, because we are constantly monitoring the adverse events in this method, the long-term safety, vaccine safety study we are doing. We are constantly monitoring the adverse events. We are documenting it. We are documenting not only about the vaccine group, but about the control groups also. We will be doing comparisons. A team of experts, next level of experts, they will be analyzing these reports, and they will be giving us some useful interpretations regarding the vaccine safety. Now, let us look at the importance of this study, because the importance, though, you can easily feel, because you are smart enough to understand the importance of vaccine safety study. Vaccine safety is so very important, because it can be a disaster if it is done wrong. Because if a vaccine with side effects, or with lots of adverse events following immunization is circulated in the market, then that vaccine can cause a disaster. It will be a disaster. And hence, it is very easy to realize the importance of vaccine safety study. If I talk about the importance of vaccine safety study, especially this long-term vaccine safety study, so it acts like a benchmark. So it helps us in regulatory approval. So basically, if a vaccine passes this phase 3 clinical trial, if a vaccine passes this phase 3 clinical trial, or then we are very confident, and governments can basically approve this vaccine to be administered in massive level among masses. So this study helps us in regulatory approval, and also this study helps us in building public confidence. Because see, the idea is that now most, like many of the people you will see, they don't trust the government, or they don't trust health administration, or people involved in managing healthcare, especially the public health, because corruption is involved in governments. Definitely, they will not willing to administer vaccine. There are many people you will find, they run away from getting vaccinated, because they don't trust the vaccines being produced. Now, if any vaccine passes this phase 3 trial, because this phase 3 clinical trial, the gold standard, if it follows the study, the phase 3 clinical trial, if any vaccine passes this, then the vaccine has proved itself. Now, no need for any government authority to prove anything. No need for any health expert, or any government body or health body to prove anything, because the vaccine itself has proved its worth, and hence it will help in building the public confidence, because now those people will get a point to trust on, because the vaccine has proved itself. The vaccine is saying, see, I have passed all the gold standard steps, and hence you can trust me, you can administer me, so that you can stay protected from that virus attack. And also, like, the next importance of this particular study is the long-term surveillance, like long-term follow-ups, because we have already seen that in the vaccine, long-term influence plays a very important role, because like some of the virus, or not the virus but the vaccine, some of the vaccines, they might exhibit long-term side effects. Some long-term side effects may be seen in those vaccines. Like initially, like for first 6 months, it is completely fine. You are not feeling any adverse events following immunization. But after 6 months, suddenly some strange things started happening to you. It might happen with the vaccines. So long-term side effects is a possibility, and hence this particular study will help us to keep on a check on those long-term adverse events accordingly. Now let us look at the limitations of phase 3 trial. Now see, till now we have been discussing all the good things about this long-term vaccine safety study, but definitely it might have some limitations also. So let us give it a try. Like let us try to look at, okay, what limitations it might possess, and those limitations are also very concerning. So first let's look at it, and those limitations will give an scope or an opportunity for other methods, because if this method, like this active surveillance, because this long-term vaccine safety study is a part of active surveillance, it's a part of clinical trial, it's a phase 3 clinical trial. So if it didn't had any limitation, then there was no point for going for other method, because if this method was 100% perfect, it was perfect, then we would why there was a need for putting extra efforts, why there was a need for going for some other methods. But unfortunately, this active surveillance has got some limitations. This active surveillance method has got some limitations, because of which we have to rely on other methods also for a perfect vaccine safety study. So now let us look at these limitations. Now the most important limitation is the it may miss rare events. Now, how is it so? Just think about this. Like I am telling that this active surveillance method, it may miss rare events. How is it possible? Like rare events means rare adverse events. So may miss rare adverse events following immunization. So see, the idea is very simple, that in this active surveillance study, we have a limitation on the participants. Like the number of participants or the sample size will be a right term. So the sample size can be 1000 participants, 10,000 participants, or even 1 lakh participants also. But there might be a very rare event. It might be associated with a special health condition, a person with a special health condition. And if that person is not the part of the sample, then what? It definitely might happen, because if the vaccine is getting administered to 10 lakh people and our sample size is 10,000, so there might be a possibility of some extremely rare adverse events following immunization. And it happens in the real world also. It's not just theoretical concepts. Like all these things we are discussing, all these possibilities we are discussing, it happens in the real world. And that is being missed by this active surveillance. And here comes the scope for the passive surveillance. Like very soon we will discuss the passive surveillance. There you will get a good clarity that, okay, what is passive surveillance and how passive surveillance is solving this problem, solving the problem of addressing extremely rare adverse events following immunization. Because our goal is that the main culprit is the AEFI. In the vaccine safety, we have to identify all the AEFIs and act accordingly. But unfortunately, in the active surveillance, identifying all the possible AEFI is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because the sample size is limited. There is always a possibility of AEFI, a very rare AEFI out of the sample, and that we can never identify with this method. And hence we have to go for other methods like passive surveillance, sentinel surveillance, and enhanced surveillance. That all we will discuss. So this was the first limitation. And the second limitation is like it is time consuming. Like it involves some good human effort, because here health experts are putting efforts to diagnose and to do the surveys, to documentation and all. Everything is done by the health experts to analyze. So it's time consuming. And since it's a long-term study, we have to do this activity like every year, this long-term safety study every year or every 6 months. And we have to do it for decades, because if any vaccine is in the market, we have to keep an eye on that, because the vaccine might have a long-term side effect, a long-term adverse event. So like it's a time taking process, it's a continuous process. This particular study, it will keep on going and going and going for years and years and years. and hence it's a limitation because a good amount of cost will be involved. Because conducting this study, it will need a good budget because health experts will be involved, so many activities will be involved, and that will not be free of cost. A cost will be involved in that, and that will be a regular cost. Like if every year we are doing this studies, every year a cost will be incurred. So these are like limitations. Okay, so finally we completed this active surveillance. We discussed it in great detail. I hope you got a good clarity on that. And see, basically in medical science, there is no great detail. There is always a scope for more depth. And hence, we have to keep on revisiting the lectures. Like we have to keep on discussing because if I talk about active surveillance, I can keep on speaking and speaking and speaking. I can speak for days because it's so important and it contains so many interesting things in it. But now, like okay, for a level one or a good understanding, we did a good analysis for this active surveillance. Now we will discuss the passive surveillance. So let us look at like what we mean, what is meant by this passive surveillance, and how this passive surveillance will solve the problem of addressing extremely rare adverse events, which is not possible to capture in the active surveillance that we already saw. So let us look at it. So let us look at some key characteristics because these key characteristics will give us the nature of this passive surveillance study, vaccine safety study. So if we look at the key characteristics, the first important characteristic which will define the nature of this passive surveillance, that is the unsolicited reporting. What it means? The big question is, okay, what is meant by this? So here, basically, no systematic efforts to get AEFI. So the idea is that in passive, hence it's passive surveillance, we don't put efforts in getting AEFI. Rather, we are open and we are inviting the public to share their experience. If somebody is facing any special AEFI, if somebody is facing any rare symptom or a rare side effect, he can communicate to us. So that is the passive surveillance. Like actively, we are not involved. Actively, we are not putting any effort. Actively, we are not putting any effort to get the AEFI. Rather, we are waiting for the public. Like vaccine is already in the market. Like it got administered to millions of people. If somebody is facing some issue, some adverse event, he might report it. So that is the passive surveillance. So basically, healthcare professionals submit this AEFI report because the idea is that a common man, if he face any problem, any health issue, he will visit the doctor or a hospital, and whatever reporting he will do in the hospital itself. Now those healthcare professionals, those hospitals, those clinics, they will submit this report, like report of this AEFI, to the concerned government regulatory bodies or like government hospitals or some research. Like in India, it is ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research, all that. So initially, healthcare professionals, they get the reports, they prepare the reports, like whatever common man visit them, he addresses his problem and they further communicate. So in passive surveillance, the system or the government bodies, they get the reports of AEFI from the healthcare professionals or other caregivers. And in very rare scenario, like if a very rare side effect was seen, then that news might float in the media. Like government authorities can get to know about that via media, like journalists and all. So it is the main property of passive surveillance, wherein like the government or the health experts like involved in this vaccine safety study, they are not putting any effort to get the AEFI. Rather, common man, he is addressing his problem to the healthcare professional or other givers, and they are further communicating the AEFI to the concerned authorities or the media, or from media the concerned authorities can get the adverse events. Now, from here, the most important aspect of passive surveillance is the wide reach. We can very easily see that it can address the problem faced by the active surveillance. Passive surveillance can very easily get a rarest of the rare adverse event following immunization. Why is it so? Because if a common man facing that rarest of the rare AEFI, if he communicates his problem with the concerned authority, like from the caregiver or the health professional, and from there, if it is being sent to the concerned authority, then they can track, they can get that adverse events following immunization. And this passive surveillance solves the problem faced by the active surveillance, and it has got a very wide reach. So basically here, the third characteristic will be the role of the health experts involved in this vaccine safety study using the method of passive surveillance that will be merely of data analysis. That will merely of data analysis, because all the reports will be prepared by health professionals, healthcare professionals, or other caregivers, and not these people involved in the vaccine safety study. In the passive surveillance, they will chill, they will just have a cup of coffee, they will be chilling, they will be waiting for the reports from the people, and whatever reports they will get, then they will get active. They will be doing the data analysis on that report to figure out the adverse events following immunization and the patterns they will be figuring out. They will be looking at the trends. Based on that, they will be taking further actions. So this is these are some very important characteristics which defines the nature of passive surveillance. So now we got a very good importance of this passive surveillance, like why passive surveillance is a very important method which needs to be followed in the vaccine safety study, because it can address the rarest of the rare adverse event following immunization. And it's a very big thing. It's a very big thing about this passive surveillance. Now let us look at the limitations of this passive surveillance, because this limitation will give the scope for the other methods like the sentinel method, enhanced surveillance method. So the limitations of this passive surveillance, let us see. Because now it's very strange that now what limitations it can have, because it is addressing so big problem like the wide range. It is a magical, like the passive surveillance can address the rarest of the rare AEFI. Then obviously it's a question that what limitation it might have. So sorry to say, but this method might it has got a very serious issue. So that is the issue of underreporting. Now the idea is that what is the surety that a person facing rarest of the rare adverse event following immunization will report it to the hospital, to the clinic, or to any caregiver. From there, that will be further communicated to the concerned authority involved in the vaccine safety study. So what is the surety? There is no surety in that. We can't assure anything in that regards. And hence, some rarest of the rare adverse events following immunization, some very serious adverse events might go unnoticed. It might definitely happen in this passive surveillance, because we are in passive surveillance, we are just waiting from the response from the people. How we can be very sure that each and every AEFI will be reported? Some very serious AEFI might get unnoticed. It might not get reported at all. It might happen. So, like in any village, if any serious AEFI is present, so because of lack of awareness, he might not know its importance. Because of the lack of awareness, he might miss it, or because of some time constraints, like especially for the hospitals and all, they might make this mistake of not reporting. It might be the scenario that the common man with the rare AEFI, he might visit the hospital, he might do the reporting, but that hospital might not further report it to the concerned authority. It might happen. And also the perceived insignificance of the event, like ignorance, like people are unaware about the importance of this EEFI. They might miss that. And this under-reporting is very serious issue, because ultimately the goal of vaccine safety study is to keep a record or identify all the EEFIs. And here in this method also, because in active surveillance method, we saw that all the EEFIs which is outside the sample space, that will go unnoticed. But in passive surveillance also, because of under-reporting, some of the EEFI might go unnoticed. And second is the, like this is also very important, incomplete information. The common man with the rare EEFI, if he is like reporting it to the hospital, it might be that whatever the concerned authority involved in the vaccine safety study, they might need more information. It happens, they might, but here is a way around for that. Like this is a limitation, but this limitation we can work out. And the workout is very simple, that what we can do is corresponding to all the serious EEFIs, the contact details should also be forwarded, so that if the concerned authority needs more inputs, they can directly communicate with that common man. They can do the screening, they can do the medical evaluation, whatever they want to do, they can do that. And it's a very good way around for this problem of incomplete information. And also the reporting bias. So reporting bias is also very serious in the sense that it's so serious in the sense that some people like intentionally like to cause harm, or just like they are not facing any AEFI, they are communicating it wrongly, they are reporting it wrongly. It might happen, because in politics, like everybody tries to pull the leg of each other. So what might happen that, okay, a vaccine got launched to defame that vaccine, or for any personal grudge or personal hatred for any particular political party or a ruling government. I might defame the vaccine. So I might just visit any hospital and I am not facing any AEFI, but I will falsely report that, oh, I am facing this after after getting the vaccine. I am having these problems and all that stuff. And it will be a disaster, because these reporting bias, if it is further sent to the concerned authority involved in the vaccine safety, they might misinterpret this. Because if this activity is happening in a large number, then they might interpret, or like not disinterpret, sorry for this, misinterpret. They might misinterpret and just look at how disastrous this reporting bias can be. But fortunately, there is a way around for this also. And the way around is visible, very simple. Like the hospital where this reporting is being done, or the clinic where this reporting is being done, first they have to validate what the other person is saying. And hospital is full of equipments. If somebody is saying that I am having a heart problem after this vaccine, so the hospital first they have to look at the medical history of that person, and they have to diagnose whether that person is having the heart problem or not. Like they have to do a screening, they have to do a validation. Based on that, they have to approve this report. And if this is done, then definitely the disastrous impact, this reporting bias, that can be taken care of. That can be taken care of. And fourth, very important limitation is the lack of control group. Means to say that like whatever AEFI is been reported, we don't know whether that adverse event following immunization is a result, is a consequence of a vaccine or a medical history. Because a person might be facing a medical history, a heart problem or a diabetes or any other symptom, adverse symptom. And how can we conclude, or how can we say that, okay, this adverse event is a consequence vaccine and not of medical history? So this lack of control group is very important, because This control group we already saw. Control group is a set of people who haven't got any vaccine. So it means that what I'm trying to say with this lack of control group is that we can't just rely on passive surveillance. We can't just rely on passive. So passive surveillance is will give us some advantage. Will give us some advantage in that way that we can like get many of the adverse events following immunization. We will get so interesting reports and all that. We will get so interesting data, but we can't just rely on passive surveillance. Along with passive surveillance, we have to do active surveillance, because in the active surveillance, it will be a clinical setting, it will be a study under a clinical trial, wherein control group will also be present. So whatever adverse events we got from the passive surveillance, we can validate it under the clinical evaluation. We can validate it. Because with the presence of control group, we can validate those AEFIs, and hence the combination of active surveillance and passive surveillance is a must in the vaccine safety study. Okay, now we will discuss sentinel surveillance. So see, sentinel surveillance is just solving the problem of passive surveillance, the problem of underreporting or reporting bias, all that problem. Like underreporting, so we can't say, but reporting bias we can say that. So sentinel surveillance is solving the problem of reporting bias. So the idea is that idea is very simple in the sentinel surveillance. So see what happened. A common man, he didn't face any AEFI, but falsely he did some reporting. Like he reported to a hospital that okay, I am having these many side effects after I got the vaccine. I am facing these many side effects. Okay, hospital reported that, and it further sent it to the concerned authority involved in the vaccine safety study. Now, if the vaccine safety study, the team, they feel that okay, these AEFI, it is strange because the holistic data which we are having, that is not having any trait of these AEFIs. So they are willing to cross-validate that, and they can very easily do. How they can do? Because they know, okay, these AEFIs they got from this hospital. Hospital has the details of the person who did the reporting. So they can very easily get in touch with the hospital, and through the hospital, they can get in touch with the person involved. And either this concerned authority, they can send a team or directly or via hospital, they can cross check whether the truthfulness, they can cross check whether okay, whatever reporting or whatever symptoms he told that common man, they can cross check whether it's a real or he said a lie. And accordingly, they can refine the AEFIs, and it's so interesting. And this is the sentinel surveillance. So they can monitor trends, detect safety signals. So here two things: monitor trends. So whatever I discussed, that's a part of monitoring, because after monitoring trends, they got an idea that okay, this AEFIs, it's so rare because it is not been exhibited statistically. So they have an element of doubt. So they can revisit the hospital, and they can get to the common man who reported that AEFI, and they can cross validate that. They can detect the safety signals, and if that person is truthful, that they will get new safety signals. Let us suppose that common man, he was telling the truth. He certainly faced some rarest of the rare adverse event, and after cross check, they found that the concerned authority involved in the vaccine safety study, they found that okay, whatever he is telling, he is right. This common man is right. This rarest of the rare adverse event do exist in this vaccine. Then they detected a safety signal. These safety signals is what will help them to enhance the vaccine or take appropriate actions. This is what is sentinel surveillance is about. Okay, let us now discuss the last method involved in the vaccine safety study, that is the enhanced surveillance. Now see, the idea is that after conducting all the three methods, see, definitely the foundation is the active surveillance. First, we start with the active surveillance. We prepare some report, we document, we prepare some report, we analyze, we make some interpretations also. Then we do the passive surveillance to get rarest AEFI, which is been not captured by the active surveillance. And this passive surveillance has a problem of reporting bias. To address that, we can do sentinel surveillance, because whatever data we have collected, in that we might find some anomalies. We might find some anomalies, and to resolve those anomalies, we can cross-check it, we can validate it. Accordingly, we can prepare the final data. Now, whatever final data we have after all these final study, like after all these three methods, whatever data we have, whatever interpretations we have, we still feel that there is a need to put some more efforts to get a good clarity. If there is a need, then we can go the enhanced surveillance. Then we can go for the enhanced surveillance. In enhanced surveillance, we can do that specific investigations. We can focus on those specific areas where we need more clarity, and we can just focus on that. We can work on that, and we can get the clarity. And then we are done with the vaccine safety study. And once we are done with all these four methods, and the final report we will be making, that will be a good report, and that will tell us whether we should go with the vaccine or we should hold the vaccine, whether the vaccine is competent enough to be administered to the masses, to the millions of people, or the vaccine still lacks some problems and it needs to be addressed. All that kind of a conclusion we can derive after these four methods. So, vaccine safety studies, the four methods of vaccine safety studies, surveillance systems in vaccine safety study. Okay, friends, so I hope you liked this lecture, because it was a detailed lecture. We got a very deep level and a very good understanding of like how vaccine safety study is being conducted, and we discussed this topic because of the importance of it. This is a very important aspect which needs to be looked into. And if you are a common man, if you are not into this domain, if you are not into this, then also you should be aware of these very important things, because these are the procedures which are governing us. Because COVID-19 vaccine, you all must have administered. And unfortunately, like we saw some news wherein we saw some reports of side effects exhibited by like Covishield, and some side effects by Covaxin also. So there we can see the importance. And now it's our responsibility, like you do a research on yourself, like research on your side. I will also do a research. It's our responsibility to see whether the ICMR or the Bharat Biotech and the Covishield company, like whether they followed these gold standards, whether they did a proper surveillance study for the vaccine safety, which I discussed with you. Because unfortunately, there was some controversy in that also, that I will discuss definitely in some other lecture. So do subscribe to this YouTube channel, because here we will be discussing the things which will be most important for you, things which will be concerning to you, things concerned to you, that we will be discussing. And you can support me, do support me. You can see the link in the description. So your support will matter me a lot, will help me a lot. So let us together solve real world problems, because awareness is the first step. If you will get aware, then at least you will get to know the problem we are facing, or you will get aware of the principles, the concepts, and then based on that, we can take more steps. And our goal is to solve real world problems. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. Namaskar.